computer and then let me get over here and go live on YouTube. It will take just a moment. Folks, we're waiting on YouTube to go live for us here. So give us just one moment. Come on, YouTube. You can do it. I know you can. I don't know why it's so slow sometimes. Oh, there we are. Maybe.
Yeah, it's good to see Larry working with you.
All right.
He seems to be doing good.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Two Guys and a Bible here on Fulfilled Radio. And it's absolutely great to see my great friend, William Bell, back with us. William, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back, Don. And I know you've been busy. I've been busy, and that's just the story. It seems like the older we get, the busier we get.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be that way.
What happened to that story? Well, you know, the older you get, the easier life will be.
Yeah.
No, not at all. You know, you and I just immediately before coming on air, you were mentioning Larry having been with me for several programs, and Larry did a great job.
Yeah.
He brings a lot of excellent insights into any discussion. Larry, of course, is well read. He's experienced in covenant eschatology. He's been through the wars just like you and I have, and so it was really a privilege and honor to have Larry on. Today, he contacted me and asked me if you were going to be able to be on. I said, "Yeah, we're planning on it." And he said, "Well, just FYI, in case he can't," he said, "I'm out of pocket. He's got some back problems." And so they had given him some medication, and he said, "I'm not in any condition to do a radio program."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we hope the best for him. He's been struggling with some back issues for a good long while, and so I don't think it's gotten a whole lot better lately. But we certainly need to remember him. So, William,
Sure.
you had a yeah. Go ahead.
I used to have some back issues, a long time ago. This
Yeah,
is
I
back before
remember.
I left FedEx. And every year, like clockwork, my back would go out.
Wow.
And so one year I went to this doctor. I'll never forget him. His name was Dr. Height. And he told me, he says, look, because I would go to my regular doctor and they would give me some, pain pills and
Yeah.
antibiotics, et cetera, and then send me
Medication.
to a week of therapy.
Yeah.
And it would take 5 days before they could get enough kinks out of my back. And I'd have to crawl on the floor because I literally couldn't get up. And at that time, we were taking care of my grandmother before she passed away. And the nurse would come in, her nurse would come in, and I would be lying on the floor in the living room. And I would tell Leora when she left to go to work, leave the door open, leave it unlocked because I can't get up to open it. And so when she knocked on the door, I would just tell her, "Oh, come on in." And I'd be lying on the floor and she'd go upstairs and take care of my grandmother. But anyways, to make the long story short, it would go out every year around June or so, like clockwork. And so when I went to that doctor, he said, look, I'm not here to treat your problems. I mean, your symptoms. He said, I'm here to get to the root of the problem.
Yeah.
It took him 15 minutes. He told me what to take out of my diet. And once I did that, I dropped about 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I haven't had a back issue since that time. And that was back in the 90s.
Well, you're going to have an awful lot of people contacting you after this show, I'm pretty sure.
Well, it was very simple. I don't know if it works for everyone, but I used to eat lots of ice cream, cereal with milk and chocolate and stuff. And those are things he told me to cut out. He says, cut out the chocolate, cut out the milk, the ice cream, etc. And once I did that, bam, there was a weight loss and it never came back. I mean, my weight's been pretty stable for all that time, and I've not had the back issues.
I know that milk products, almost all of them are just detrimental. And I love cereal of the night. I love
I used to be crazy about it. And I still love it, but I won't eat it.
Yeah, I absolutely love a big bowl of Life cereal, cinnamon Life cereal. Just really, really good. But I cut back on it. I've cut back on it tremendously. I was eating a bowl of that every single night. And I just noticed several different things happening to me. And of course, I was watching videos on YouTube about the side effects of the dairy products. And it's like, whoa, okay, maybe I think I see a pattern here. So I very seldom right now. I've really cut back on my milk and dairy products. Now I love cheese. I absolutely love
I do too, but I
cheese.
can't do it. I won't do it.
Wow. And I mean
And you're talking about
cheese.
some sharp cheddar cheese.
Oh yeah.
Every now and then, I'll just break down and I'll have to go cut me a piece and eat it just for taste, etc. But for the most part, I won't do it. As a matter of fact, we went out the other day, Leora and I, and we ordered hamburgers. And so the one she ordered didn't have cheese on it because she had like a coupon or something. The one that I ordered came with two pieces of cheese. And I said, they kept asking her if she wanted cheese. I said, you don't have to give any. I'm going to give her mine. I told her to take both pieces. But no, I won't eat it as a
Well,
rule.
yeah, I mean, I love salad anymore, which is something different for me. And I always order extra cheese. So uh boy, I tell you, it's hard to give some things up. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it is.
you
You
know,
almost get addicted to it.
oh yeah. Well, see, before my formal debate with Chris Date, I went on a 1 month sugar fast. I mean, I did
Mm,
not have any sugar, and I lost about 12 pounds.
yeah,
And now I'll be really honest, I don't know that I could tell a difference in my mental acuity, but I know that they say that it affects it. And
it
so,
does.
right now I'm on another sugar fast because I've got this debate coming up with Dr. Richard Carrier.
Hmm.
And now I went off of it last week. We went out to barbecue at one of our local places that and oh man, it had been super hot. I had been out working, and so I broke down and I got two root beers. Oh man, that's good. But I'm back on the sugar fast now, and strangely enough, by and large, I don't even have the craving unless
Hmm.
it's of an evening after a meal. I'd like to have just a little piece of chocolate, just a little piece of something. But I don't even let myself do that as a general rule.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
you have to learn that discipline over the years, and even then it's tough. Every now and then, I remember when I was on Body for Life program some years ago, and they everything was strict for 5 days, but on the weekend you could do whatever you want.
go
So I
all out.
still kind of practice a little bit of that habit. If it's on the weekend, I don't judge myself too harshly. If I want to eat something that normally is I won't eat as a regular
Right.
piece
Yeah.
part of my diet.
Yeah. I understand. Well, William, you've been gone for a while. You were in Ghana, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For almost a month. We want to hear. I've been telling people that when you get back, you're going to give us a report
Oh,
on your efforts over there. I've had different people contact me and say, well, when's he coming back? I want to hear. I want to hear what's going on over there. So fill us in on your trip, some of the activities, and tell us how things went.
well, things were fine. As a matter of fact, I've gotten to the point where um, I know how to get to Solomon's church without having to have him direct me, et cetera. So the more, and you have to walk quite a bit from the road, through this neighborhood up hills and et cetera. And so I remember walking, and they had uh, either started some building or planted. I think it was a foundation they were laying in that area right where his building is. So, normally you would know where to turn. So I kind of missed the turn, and I was walking by it, and Solomon hollered out the building. He said, we're here, we're here. And so I was able to find it. But yeah, they're doing fine. Solomon is doing very well. They're having baptisms almost on a regular basis.
Wow, cool.
Um, and the congregation is growing. He's doing two congregations now. I don't know if you knew
Wow.
that, but
No.
there are there are two congregations, and they meet in two different areas, and at different times. And then he's doing the radio program, and of course I was there for the radio program, and he gets call-ins on that program. As a matter of fact, they called in. One guy, we were talking on, I think the study was Second Thessalonians, and so we were talking about the man of lawlessness and the events of Second Thessalonians chapter 2. And so this guy called in, and after we sort of built up the foundation on audience relevance, et cetera. Well, this guy called in, and these are guys from the churches of Christ, a lot of them, because
Yeah. Yeah.
and so they he called in and he said, look, he says, I agree with you guys, on this audience relevance thing. And then he had, a question. I've kind of forgotten that one by now, but they are listening. As a matter of fact, Solomon just had a debate last Saturday. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Yes, he actually contacted me before the debate and he asked me a few
Yep.
questions about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him, what I thought about it. And I haven't heard back from him. He never told me, never reported and gave me an account of what happened.
Yeah, well, he had, they initially were going to invite lots of churches, right? This is the way it was supposed to be. And then they cut it down
Wow.
to where it was only about 60 people in the audience. That was still good compared to what they did when I debated there.
I remember that.
And yeah, and so he only had they only had 2 30-minute speeches, and then of course they had an extended Q&A after that. So it wasn't much that he could do. And of course he consulted me as well on some things that would, help him out during the process and sent me, his speeches and everything. And so I corresponded with him a bit and just kind of encouraged him and all. And he, from what I could hear, he did a very good job. They were supposed to have recorded it, and then they said no recording.
Where have we heard this before?
Absolutely. So no recording of the discussion. And I think the main points that the opposition raised was he agreed with some of the points on 70 AD and Christ coming in 70 AD, but he said John 14, and I think there was another chapter that he still held out to be future. And Solomon was quite shocked that several people in the audience agreed that 2 Peter 3 referred to 70 AD. So he had some people out there. He's doing a fairly good job. I would say a very good job in convincing some of the people who are there. They're listening to him. And when I go, we go to the station together and do the broadcast. And like I said, he gets some call-ins. His congregation, because of the 2 congregations now going on, some of the people are at one or the other, and they've told him, he's in a building program, and so the next thing that we're trying to do is get the walls up. We've got the foundation laid and everything, and it's on the main road where all the traffic goes. It's not like up the hill, because they're worshiping in a school building at the present time, and it's not very large, and so it's kind of a hassle. They have to take the seats out and everything when they finish, but he's got the other foundation laid, and so sometime between the end of this month and November, they will start putting up the walls. Cool. And that's going to take him. And some of the people have told him, look, we want to come and visit you, but we just can't deal with kind of where you are right now. You know how people are. We're still and so they are planning to come. And he'll probably have some more growth when that occurs, and so we're looking forward to that. I didn't get a chance to do some teaching in the Volta region this time, and they were asking me to come, but the gentleman that I usually coordinate with, he was out of town and wouldn't be back. Well, he had something scheduled that week. He was there during the time I was with Solomon, but the week that I was going to be back in the area to go to him, he was going to be gone. And so I didn't get an opportunity to do that, but they're waiting on me to come back again so we can meet with them. And then I don't know if you know James Eblabor in Nigeria.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, he's been trying to get me there for about 4 or 5 years as well. So I said that, if we're able, and, Leo and I will go next year to Nigeria. And he said, if you come, we're going to have you do like a campaign and, a workshop or whatever. And so he's really been asking me every single year, to come. But he runs a school of about 1,300 students.
Oh my.
Yeah. Young kids. And one of the things that he teaches them along the way is they work in on a farm so they can help support themselves with food. And, things are real tough there.
Oh yeah.
But 1,300, and they do quite well. They in terms of the school and the congregation, and I think he works with 2 or 3 churches there as well.
Now, what was
So,
his name again?
his name is James Eblebor.
I know I've corresponded with several guys from Nigeria. I just don't remember that name right off, but I know that I've corresponded with some people who direct some schools,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and preacher schools as well, and what
Mm-hmm.
have you. But that name is not striking a bell with me. Now, is
Okay.
this the fellow that you contacted me about sending some books, and I sent you some books to send?
Um, I'm trying to remember that, Doug. Let's see. He may be. He would have been one of the people that you would have sent some books to if it wasn't someone with Solomon. But that's a possibility. I
Okay.
can't say that I'm sure. And then the other is we've started working with a church in Pakistan.
Oh my.
Yeah, this guy contacted us, and so we've started. We do like a Zoom call on generally on Monday mornings, but sometimes he has an outage where he can't get on. So we did it this was it this morning? The day is Tuesday, right? So we did it this morning, and so that's how we'll alternate. But he also shares it with other people there. He has to get on at a certain time, but they have and they're in this Islamic background, and
Yeah.
Dale Robbins, whom you know
Yeah.
very well,
Sure.
does the call with me. As a matter of fact, Dale is going to do a class with them on tomorrow. So he does classes with them. And of course, as you know, these people in these areas have tremendous needs. Like, they need some place to meet. They're meeting in a place that's just walls and no roof. And they need, Bibles and things like that. And so, unfortunately, we're not a big congregation to be able to supply all of that. We do have some people in the congregation who reach out and who help them along the way. And of course, you already know about Brother Hannock in
Oh yes.
Nakrakal, India, with the preaching school there.
Yes. Yes.
And so I think one of the most recent things, and Dale and them have been very, very supportive in helping to get the things that they need. I think the last thing was they had a well dug, and now he's having some type of convention, I think, and they needed some food. But they've been doing quite well and being supplied very well. So that's kind of what's been going on.
Well, what do you do in your spare time?
I sit here with Don Preston on Tuesdays and do.
Well, a question that I had was about the Nigerian work, because I know that in 1979, I was actually scheduled to go to Nigeria myself. I was supposed to
Mhm.
go to the southern region, and my contact over there was a local missionary. He had been there for years, was a well-trusted man. He was well known by several ministers in the States, and his name is Peter Oriaku. I don't know if you've heard that name.
No, I haven't.
Well, here's the problem. I don't I don't think he's still alive.
Oh,
But
okay.
Peter, and this is way before cell phones, and it was well before, internet and Facebook and YouTube and what have you. But we corresponded by telegram a good bit. And I had all of my money raised. I had my plans made. I didn't have my ticket purchased, but pardon me. He said that the Muslims were starting to create a tremendous amount of conflict, even in the South. And he had already told me. He said in the South normally we're just fine. The Muslims don't cause a lot of trouble. He said now we have to be very, very cautious if we go in the North, because he said that's predominantly
Mm-hmm.
run by the Muslims. And he said they will tolerate you unless they think that you're attacking their faith. And he said, then you can die very quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I said, well, we'll just stay in southern Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, it got down within a month and a half of me supposed to be leaving. and I wasn't hearing from him. And then I finally got one note from him, and it said, Brother Don, we're having tremendous unrest. And he said, I'm hoping and praying not to disappear in the middle of the night.
Wow.
But he said, it's that bad.
Oh,
And he said, it's government unrest and it's driven by the Muslims. And he said, there's a great deal of danger in my country right now. Well, it got down to a month, no word from him. It got down to 3 weeks. I finally sent him a telegram and said, if I don't hear from you within the next week, I'll have to cancel my plans. I just can't come.
mhm.
I've never heard from him. I've never talked to anyone else who's been to Nigeria, missionaries from all stripes. Nobody's heard from him since.
Mm.
I'm fearful that he disappeared in the middle of the night, like he said he was
Wow.
afraid of.
That could be very possible because I know they've had a lot of tension going on with, the Muslims in Nigeria, as well as, and along with Christians as well. Um, I haven't noticed that kind of tension in Ghana. However, I don't go to the north. I've been told that that's kind of a different country as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
When you go there, and you can be deleted pretty easily up there, depending on what's going on. And I don't even think that has necessarily to do with, your faith one way or the other. It could. But in the southern area, around Cape Coast and even Accra, I see the Muslims interacting all the time, and they just go about. And it doesn't seem to be any issues whatsoever, and that's been my experience.
Well, that's
A
good.
lot of them are merchants.
Right.
A lot of them are merchants, and you interact with them, and you see them going to school and everything. So it seems like they get along pretty well.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's wonderful to hear. I've often wondered, and I knew that Uganda had a significant Islamic population, but I had not heard of any overt animosity between the Muslims and the locals, the Christians and what have you. And so I was curious about it, but I just simply did not know. But when you mentioned going to Nigeria, I'm going, "Ugh, uh, that's uh, that's concerning."
Yeah, well, just from what I know about it, I know there are probably some places that I don't want to go, and certainly wouldn't want to go alone.
Oh yeah,
And only because you know somebody there who knows the ropes, could help you along those lines. So I'm willing to risk it from that point of view, and hopefully he'll keep me out. But I know on one occasion he did say that there was some issues that they were having at one point. So I might need to talk to him again and just kind of make sure everything is kind of settled down, and maybe will be, by the time we are able to make the trip there.
yeah. Well, when you're talking about situations like that, it's always troubling. It's always concerning, and as long as there's peace in the neighborhoods and there's no significant danger, I think in situations like this we have to be wise as serpents, harmless as doves,
Mm-hmm.
and to make sure that we are safe so that we can continue to do the work. And
Right.
I know of people, I've spoken to people who have said, well, they're going to go to Pakistan, to Afghanistan to work among the Muslims. Well, on the one hand, I kind of appreciate the courage. I'm not sure how wise that is.
Mm.
If you don't have an imam that controls the villages and controls the locals that will guarantee your safety, you are literally taking your life in your hand just to walk into the village.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, I've kind of questioned the wisdom of some people who have done that kind of work. It's on the one hand, it's like, well, you're a better man than me. You're a braver man than me. I'll guarantee you. I'm real comfortable right here in southern Oklahoma.
Yeah. Um, with Brother Hannock in India, there was
Oh
one
yeah,
occasion where he had to go to an area, and I think it was the government persecution basically that they were having to face. I was kind of shocked that he was willing to do it, but they went, and everything turned out okay. But their lives could have been very much at risk at that point. They're dealing with Hinduism and various other issues there. So those guys, you have to take your hat off to them for the
wow,
courage that they have to do what they do. And at the same time, they're dealing with people who are extremely poor, and they have to worry about feeding them and so many things. So to be able to do that in that area is quite remarkable and saying a lot.
Well, it really is. And I know that you do as well, especially with the context that you've got. I get inquiries, I get requests almost on a daily basis, and sometimes several times a day from people in India, from Africa, where my Afghan, Pakistan. I've been getting requests over the last couple of days. One guy that is in India, just it really tugs at your heart. Of course, you have to be super cautious.
Oh yeah.
Because there's many, many, many of them that are nothing but con men. They know the strings to pull, they know the stories to tell. And this guy tells a good story, but his story is almost identical, almost verbatim with some of the other stories that I've been given lately. And I go,
Hmm.
okay, they're talking among each other, saying, well, here's what you say. Here's the story that you tell. And so you hear this same story two or three different times within a week, or 6 weeks or whatever. You're going, no, I don't think so. But there's just simply no way that a person can help everyone that contacts you.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't care who you are, you just simply cannot do that.
Hmm.
Jan and I have tried in the past to help some. We purchased Bibles, we've purchased bags of rice, we've done that, this and that, of people that we felt like that we had vetted to a certain
Hmm.
extent, that we felt like, okay, this is legitimate. And so, what is the name of the brother in India that has been there so long? The local minister,
Prabhu Das.
Prabhu Das. Uh, Prabhu Das has been able to help us in some situations to find out about people who were requesting help, and we were able to help a little bit.
Right.
And you want to do a lot, you want to do a lot more, but financially, just simply not able to do that. So, I've got to tell you, brother, I appreciate the work that you're doing so very, very much. I've told you this both privately and here on the program as well. Uh, I said this on the program last week as in anticipation of tonight. I believe that what you're doing there in Ghana is a multi-generational work that is going to impact the lives of countless numbers of people there in Ghana for these coming generations. And you and I probably won't live to see the impact of it. And yet, you know that you're sowing the seeds, not a responsibility to bring the harvest. It's our responsibility to sow, to do the work, to do the teaching, and what have you. And yet, that said, uh, it's just thrilling to me to sit back and to quote, witness, unquote, the work that you're doing over there, and knowing how dedicated you are to it, knowing the good that you've already accomplished, and to know that that seed is, in fact, growing, as you've already shared with us. Solomon's work growing and growing, and now Pakistan, now Nigeria, as the word of the work that you're doing, pardon me, continues to spread out into different areas. And it's almost like, come over to Macedonia and help us.
Raymond, who is
Yeah.
a friend of Solomon, I'm sure you know of him as well. Of
Yes.
course, he's graduating in November.
Ah.
He went to university. Of course, we've been instrumental in helping him to get through school. But he was a solid preterist before he went. As a matter of fact, he got kicked out. So I mean, he's got the badge of honor. He wears it proudly. But he's young, and you were talking about the generations that's coming on, and
Yeah.
he was telling me the other day. He said, "Man, he said it's a lot of people that are now becoming interested, and so that's really really good. They're like I said, they're doing some good work over there, and I'm looking forward to it. So when he gets out of school, he'll probably be in a better position to even do more of the work himself."
Yeah. You mentioned of how the interest is obviously growing. And you and I have discussed this on this program many, many times before. We both get a bang out of former preterists who like to say, there are all 14 of those preterists, hiding
Mm,
out, and it's not growing. You blah, blah, blah. And there's only a few internet keyboard warriors out there. And yet I was sharing this with a couple of different people. In fact, I shared it on with Mike Sullivan on one of our recent programs on Friday evenings. I have, and I'm partners with Alan Morton on one Facebook page entitled Preterist Doctrine. Okay.
Good.
Even a year ago, it was about 800 registered members, and it was rocking along, rocking along, rocking along. We'd add one or two people a week, you know. Right now, and it may actually have reached the milestone, but I know
Mhm.
we were at 2,900 members just last week.
That's
We are
awesome.
we are getting an average, William, of anywhere from 8 to 15 membership requests every single day.
Mm.
And we have people answer three questions and agree to three conditions. One question basically, and that is, how did you hear about us?
Mhm.
And it was, heard it from a friend, uh, recommended by Facebook, or et cetera, et cetera. Been doing some study. I'm fascinated by what I'm hearing. And it's just absolutely incredible. And like I said, almost every day, anywhere from 8 to 15 requests. Now, we don't even allow them to become members of that Facebook page unless they answer the three questions and
Mhm.
agree to the conditions. Okay. The majority of them don't even answer the questions. And you're going, they're not tough questions. You know,
Yeah.
really, they're really not. Uh, so I noticed that, I think it was yesterday, perhaps today, Alan Morton made a list of all the new people that had been added just within the last week or so. And there are over
Mhm.
20 people that have been added to that. And I've noticed that any number of Facebook pages that over the last year have gone from 300 or 400 members to where now they're up 800, 900. And I can sit here and name at least 4 or 5 Facebook pages that are preterist pages that
Mhm.
are at 2,000 members and counting. And there's one Facebook page who is run by a guy named Dan Maines. Do you know Dan?
I don't.
Okay. I knew the name. And just recently he contacted me, private message, and he says, "Hey, Don, I was just wondering why you're not posting your videos on my Facebook page." And I go, "I don't know what it is." Well, it's called simply Fulfilled Prophecies. And he said, "I want to invite you to post your videos on my page." I said, "Okay." I go over there, and William, this has been 2 months, maybe 3 months ago,
Mhm.
12,000 members.
Oh, awesome.
And since then, it's now 14,000, knocking the door at 15.
Yeah.
Boom.
Well, there you go. There you go. So all the naysayers out there, oh, they got about 14 people, you
Yeah.
know.
I know you didn't get to attend the Arkansas Eschatology seminar. I guess you were out of the country even at that.
I'm not sure if I was or not. What was the date?
Well, don't ask me that.
Oh, okay.
I've slept twice since then.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, of course, you know, with COVID hitting and seminars being kind of sparse and what have you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, I tell you what, Zach Davis and Travis Drum, the local guys there, did an absolutely incredible job. And William, you know how it's gone at seminars. You had your seminar in Memphis some years ago. What was it, 2018 maybe?
Yeah, it was less.
Had 100 people there, and it was great. Here at Predators Pilgrim Weekend, before Jan's health prevent us from sponsoring seminars again, our top attendance was about 160 something at one time. So we knocked along, and that's really good. We had great times, wonderful
Hmm.
times. Okay, there were over 300 attendees, William,
Oh, great.
at the Jonesboro conference, and I have to tell you, it truly was an emotional experience for me. I mean,
Hmm.
you and I have been at seminars where there would be literally just a handful of people, where there might have
Right.
been 14 people there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I stood at the back of the auditorium on the opening night,
Hmm.
and I looked out at the back of everyone's heads, and it was just solid people from here to there. And like I said, over 300 people. And I looked at that, and I have to tell you, I actually teared up
Oh, wow.
because here you had an obvious hunger and thirst in the hearts and lives of all of these people. And I don't know how many more people had actually purchased tickets, but
Hmm.
who could not come, who wound, life happens, they're not able to come. But
Right.
I do know that Zach Davis told me that they had a pretty good number of people that had purchased reservations that couldn't come, and other people took those reservations.
Oh, wow.
And so when it was my turn to speak, I was I think the second speaker uh, on Friday night. Yeah, and I told the congregation, I said, look, some of us guys that have been doing this for so long, I said, we have spoken at seminars where there were just literally a handful of people. So I said, to look out and to see over 300 people is an absolutely amazing accomplishment. So I said, you need to give yourselves a hand. And people asked me, in fact, Zach Davis had asked me, I think
Hmm.
he or Travis One had asked me, well, what do you think we've gotten this response? I said, well, I think there are a couple of things. I said, number one, I think after COVID, people are just sick and tired of being told that they can or cannot go somewhere. I said, people don't want to be told you can't go to church or you can't do this, you can't do that. I said, so I think there's a reaction here. But I said, secondly, and I mentioned all the Facebook pages and the growth.
Hmm.
I said, I think it's very, very obvious that there is the beginnings. I'm not going to call it a tidal wave, but there is the beginning of a surge of genuine interest from all corners. And people are saying, there really is something to this. And I'm sick and tired of all the false predictions. I'm sick and tired of this and that and the other. I'm sick and tired of being told, don't listen to those preterists. Don't you dare study this subject now. You'll get in trouble. You'll be thrown out of the church or this or that. And they go, well, why would I get picked out of the church for studying the Bible? And so I said, there are many, many factors that go into it. But I said, I think the bottom line is the time has come. I really think that the
Yeah.
time has come.
Well, yeah, I think that as you say, this is the time where all of this fruit that we've labored toward, not just us, but everyone that you're mentioning here, it's beginning to really blossom. And I think the next, years where we won't be around, it's going to really make a difference. And when you look at the atmosphere around us and what's going on in the world,
Oh,
people need something
they
at this
do.
point. And that might be another part of the encouragement, that they see something a lot more solid than what they've seen in the past.
And there's something going on separate and apart from the growth of preterism, but it actually goes hand in hand. And I think,
Mhm.
William, I think that it's going to open the doors of opportunity even more than what we're seeing right now. There's a scholar in England. I mentioned this on Mike Sullivan's program with me, Preterist Apologetics. This scholar by the name of Justin Brierley has written a book entitled The Unexpected Revival of Faith. Now, this guy has a radio program in England, in London, in which he invites top academics who are atheists, agnostics, skeptics, blah, 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 to come on and to have a discussion, a debate with some of the top theologians in the world.
Mhm.
And in this book, again, The Unexpected Rebirth of Faith, he chronicles how even some of the atheists that have appeared on his program are now professing Christians.
Mhm.
And he documents name after name after name of really, really prominent atheists, skeptics, agnostics, whatever you wish to call them, who, not simply as a result of these debates, but as a result of their own research into chemistry, biogenetics,
Mhm.
astronomy. And again, these are some of the top academics in the world in their field. And they've just come to the conclusion you can't
Mhm.
tell me that this world, this life that we see around us, came about by accident. There's got to be a designer. And I mean, these are some of the very top people in their respective fields. Now, I made this comment, William. See if you agree with me. Okay, it's absolutely wonderful, in my estimation, that these big academics from every field imaginable are coming to take a fresh look at Christianity and the story of
Mhm.
the Bible. Now, Brierley asks some questions. Why is this true? And one of the answers that these academics give is because atheism does not provide the answers of how did I get here? It doesn't say, why am I here? It doesn't tell us what we're worth. It doesn't tell us our purpose. Atheism does nothing. It answers none of the questions which are fundamental to our very being.
Mhm.
All of us want to believe that we are worth something, that we have value, that we have purpose, that we have function in this world. Atheism says you don't have any of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of a sudden, here are these atheists who have been teaching this godlessness and purposelessness, meaninglessness, and they're re examining the message of Christianity that it, among all of the religions of the world, stands alone with the exception of Judaism in saying every single person is loved. Every person has meaning and value. And that comes from the message of the scriptures, and it comes from the heart of Jesus himself. So that's part of it. So here's what I wanted to get at. Here are all these academics that are taking a fresh look at faith, and they're coming to faith. But William, you know as well as I do that as they come to faith, sooner or later they're going to come face to face with the challenge of Christ. Did Jesus do what he said he was going to do?
Mhm.
So they're going to be confronted all over again with the atheistic argument. For instance, the atheistic argument that Richard Carrier is going to affirm in my debate with him on October the 26th, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. In case you weren't aware of the fact, our debate did get rescheduled to October the 26th.
Yeah.
Okay, so Richard Carrier is going to affirm, guess what? Jesus lied or Jesus failed. Now, Richard Carrier believes the entire story of Jesus, the entire story of God, is myth and fable. It's untrue. So, what kind of a value system does Richard Carrier have? He doesn't have one. He has no moral basis. Now, he likes to argue, oh, I can get my morality from Taoism. I can get mine from Hinduism. I can get mine from here and there and, whatever. Well, not really. Not like the foundation that Christianity offers. So, my point is this: all of these former atheists coming now to a rediscovered, as it were, faith in Jesus and in the reliability of Scripture, they're going to be reconfronted with the story of Jesus and the promise of his coming.
Mhm.
This is where we come in. This is where full preterism comes in. And we've got to keep preaching. We've got to keep teaching. We've got to keep writing. We've got to be creating these videos so that the message can get out farther and farther and farther. And eventually, hopefully, some of these videos will get into the lives of these high academics as they sit and they consider, well, okay, what about Jesus and his promise to come? Did he fail? Did he lie? Have I turned back to Christianity in vain after all? Now, that's my perspective on that. Tell me what you think. What's your idea?
Yeah, well, I think that's true. One thing I wanted to comment on that you were just saying that, this message is going to get to the academics. Well, as a general rule, they've been shunning it over the past few years. I mean, it's just like we were talking about the debate just moments ago, how they, try not to have an audience, and we're not going to let you have an audience, as if they control everything. But here's the issue. The people, the students who are going to attend these places are the ones who are eager to learn about it.
Amen.
They're looking for the solutions. They want the answers, and they're not afraid to go and investigate to see what those answers are. And then once they find them, they've got the courage to go to the academics and ask the questions in the classes. And they're going to have to answer them. They're going to be faced and confronted with them. And then can you see this developing even further when they start to do their term papers and their master's theses and doctoral thesis? They're going to be writing about this. So a lot of it's going to be out there. And then once they do, people are going to have to start addressing it. And so that's kind of what I see, taking place in terms of, the academic side. But I think there's so much. I mean, when you look at the political side, you look at what's going on, with foreign affairs, you look at what's going on in the area of finance. I mean, we've got turmoil going everywhere. The endless wars and everything else that's going on. This stuff is bothering people, and they're getting fed up with it. The woke people, and I don't know whether this is a woman or whether this is a man, and the things that they're teaching your children, that people are getting fed up with this.
Oh, yeah.
And what they've seen is not working. I think also it's going to impact those areas as well. And, that comes down to some of these questions that, people have had, over the years, well, the what now, et cetera. And with this paradigm of go bury your head in the sand and let's wait for Jesus to come and fix it, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. But when you can give them something solid and they see that and they can, prove and you can demonstrate that from scripture. And now the questions will come, okay, what do we do to make our world better? And this is going to be more appealing to them than what they got from the dispensational paradigm.
You mentioned something there about students studying the issue and going back to their professors.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last 2 or 3 years, perhaps just the last 2, I have been contacted by no less than 5 doctoral students who have contacted me and said, I've read some of your works. I'm currently working on my doctoral thesis. I would like for you to answer the following questions for me, if you would. And I'm going, wow, okay, cool. Yeah, sure, fire away. And so I've been more than happy to do that. Now, whether or not they ever quote me is besides the point. Whether or not they ever use my name, totally irrelevant. As long as they will take the information and incorporate those into their doctoral thesis. Now, if they're doing it properly from a literary and journalistic perspective, then they'll give academic journalistic accreditation. But again, it's not the point. The point is they'll be making the argument that their teachers or their academic professors are going to have to deal with more and more. And I wanted to point something out to you. Pardon me. In our negotiation for our debate, Dr. Richard Carrier, as we were working through some of the negotiations, I asked him about some of his views on eschatology. Well, in the first place, he has a very confused view of eschatology. I would even say confused and confusing. But here's what he said to me. I would share with you the view that is also shared and held by the vast majority of academics today that in his predictions of the end, Jesus believed it would happen in AD 70 and the destruction of Jerusalem. Now, here's a guy who holds two major PhDs, okay? One in history, the other one, I think, philosophy, if I'm not mistaken. He is agreeing that the consensus view of academics is, yeah, Jesus expected and predicted his coming into the age to occur in AD 70. Well, thank you very much. That's half the battle. Now the question,
and it's, I'm sorry.
and the only question left is, what did Jesus mean by his coming? That's the only question left.
Yeah.
And of course, Dr. Carrier, along with this vast consensus of scholarship, well, Jesus predicted his coming, at the end of time to destroy physical heaven and earth, et cetera, et cetera. Wrong. It's not what he predicted. And so this is what I'm saying. When you and I can, and all the other preterists can demonstrate that's not what Jesus was predicting. The church is missing this point. The church itself is guilty of misinterpreting the point. When we can drive that point home, all of a sudden the floodgates can begin to open. Go ahead.
I'm told by some guys, we've had all of these forums and Clubhouse and all of this stuff, where we engaged with guys from different perspectives. I mean, whether they're Old Testament only people, whether they're Hebrew Israelites, and some of them are Muslims, some of them are, Jews. And I mean, we've had just about everything. And we've debated them and had conversations with them live in these platforms. Well, I haven't been, probably now for maybe a year, I haven't been in actively as I was when it was going on. They made so many changes. But I have people who are still there. I think you remember Sharp Spear, maybe. Yeah, because you met Sharp Spear when we met. Yeah, so he called me up and he told me, he says, man, he said, look, he said, you need to come back over. He said, those guys are now using preterist arguments to refute each other.
That's awesome.
He said, yeah, he said they have realized that they can't answer certain issues unless they take the preterist arguments. And they've heard enough of them from me, from Elvin, from, Sharp Spear and Pit Boss and all of the ones who've been hanging out over there. Michael, what's his name, that had the debate not too long ago.
Not Miano.
No, not Mike Miano. Mike, oh boy, I can't think of him.
Sullivan?
I can't think of his last name. No, it's not Mike Sullivan. He had a discussion with Tristan, I think, not too long ago before I went to, but anyway, I'll think of his name. Yeah. But anyway, because he's been very active over there as well. But that's what Sharp Spear has told me. I said, well, look, if that's going on, then just let me stay away and let it keep going on. Those guys.
Let me hold back and say sick 'em.
Yeah. And, so they've realized they've heard enough. I mean, because they've come with just about everything that they thought they could use. I remember after I had the debate with what was his name? Oh boy, I can't think of these names now. But anyway, he was I think he's a Hebrew Israelite. But anyway, I had this discussion with him, and after I'd had a debate with Josh early on back in 2014, 15 or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, this guy was, they were reviewing the debate and they were, this, oh yeah. I can't think of his name. But anyway, oh yeah, he really whooped you in the debate. So they were talking about various points and they wouldn't let us come in to, rebut some of the things that they were saying. They just pretty much shut it down. Like, they gave the pretension, a pretense that they were going to allow us to respond to the arguments they were making. Well, they just did a whole monologue of, this point and that point. So finally at the end, when they were about to cut off, they said, okay, we're going to open it up now. And so they allowed me to come in. And we were talking about the resurrection because that's what they thought uh, they were really strong on. And we got on Philippians chapter 3 and verse
20 and
11.
21. Oh,
No,
okay.
verse
Oh, yeah,
10
yeah.
and 11.
Yeah, yeah.
It was so funny. So when they did, one of them, the one that I can't think of his name that I debated rather recently, he took one view that it was physical. Josh took the view that it was spiritual. And they were talking about it, trying to use that to refute me. So I told them at the very end, after I had, made several remarks about it, I said, now look, here you guys are claiming that you can refute what I'm saying. One of you claims it's spiritual. The other one says that it's physical. I said, look, you guys get together, work that out, and then call me.
Get back with me. Yeah.
And then I dropped the mic. I just hung up the phone. I just dropped the mic. And well, Elvin and them were still in the they were still in the room. And it tickled me so bad that that's what I did, because as I did it, they were saying, wait a minute, what did he say? Because they were asking me, what did you do? And Elvin, I said, I didn't even want to say anything else. I just wanted to leave with that. He said, man, he said that was the best exit I've ever seen anywhere. But I left them that way. And they knew they were done.
Yeah.
Because here they are trying to refute it. And one of them is arguing that it's a spiritual, and the other one is saying that it's physical. And so now you're debating against yourself. Figure it out, call me, and let's talk about it.
Yeah. And as you well know, in countless discussions and debates, both public, formal, and informal, we see that happen among our opponents. That they can't even agree among themselves, and they very often like to say, well, look at all you preterists, you can't even agree among yourself. Well, yeah, there are differences among us, no question about it, and we wish there weren't, but we're all human beings, et cetera, et cetera. But for them, for the other side to suggest that they're just perfectly united and harmonious, just recently on Facebook, Stephen Whitsitt, a guy that you well know and I know, he attacked me and said, well, all scholars believe this and all scholars believe that. You're against the consensus. I said, well, let me respond to you this way, Mr. Whitsitt. Even Sam Frost disagrees with you. So I said, don't talk to me about the consensus of people disagreeing with me when and we were in a discussion on Sam's page, as I remember. And I said, he doesn't agree with you at all. He would consider you a heretic for what you're saying here. Boy, that just killed that right then and there.
Yeah. Speaking of Whitsitt, and by the way, I remember that guy's name. His name was Zadok. But anyway, I was just kind of hanging out on Academia, that website, the other day, and I saw where Stephen Whitsitt had published something. I don't know when he did it, whether it was recently, against Michael Miano. So I just read the first page, and he was saying, well, even Michael Miano admits that all of the early church fathers took a futurist view on the resurrection or on eschatology. And I'm sitting to myself, I said, well, he hasn't read much concerning them, especially, you and I have talked about Justin Martyr. I said, maybe they did. But here's the thing. We know that some of them took preterist views, like Tertullian on Daniel chapter 9. And then Justin Martyr acknowledged that there were Christians who did not believe in a future resurrection and that people go to their, inheritance upon their death. And I'm saying, okay, so you're saying that maybe the notable early church fathers might have been futurists, but everyone they were dealing with certainly were not. And for him to just kind of sweep over that as if, it doesn't exist, I thought was really, really bad. But that's what he does.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much in his,
that's what I started to say.
That's standard.
Yeah, that is Stephen Whitsitt in a nutshell.
Yes.
He attacked me several times on that particular discussion until finally I answered him and he just completely disappeared. So that's just the way that he does. He's a what I call a hit and run theologian, and there are an awful lot of people like that. They like to take shots at us as preterists, and then when you respond to them, they literally just disappear and they never answer what we have to say. Well, William, I think we've taken up our time. It's great. It's wonderful. It's thrilling, exciting, and encouraging to hear the work you're doing over there and the results that are taking place. And it's good to just go over some of the other things that are happening in our ministries and what have you as we interact with people on a daily basis. So it's great to have you back, brother, and we'll look forward to having you back again next week. We'll be talking about the priesthood of Melchizedek
All right.
as it relates to the Messianic temple. So, folks, thanks for joining us here on Two Guys in a Bible. And with that, I will say good night. God bless.
All right. Good night.
Good night. All right. Let me see here.